Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a super fun video because I'm here with a regular knitting/making podcast. Today is episode 21. I have 2 finished objects for you for knitting and then 2 crochet projects, some sewing projects as well, and barely any works in progress, crazily enough, because I've just been working on a secret project of mine and then also on the things that I finished. So let's just get started. The first thing that I'm going to be mentioning, because I always forget to mention it and then I will get a comment about it, is what I'm wearing. So this is the rose ruffle top that is my own design. It's currently in test knitting and it will be released, I think, on the 30th of July. That's what I'm hoping. The test knit is going really great so far. I've really enjoyed seeing all of the garments that everyone has made. They're so cute and so pretty, and there have barely been any adjustments, so it's going really well. And I will show you just quickly, a little bit of the top, but it's this with a little ruffle. And then the back is also a little bit open, so it's very cute, if I do say so myself. I was actually looking at my yarn this morning and thinking that maybe I should knit another summer top, but I'm not really feeling particularly inspired by anything like other people, their designs. So maybe now that I'm thinking about it, I should make a new design, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it would have to be for next summer, because it's already the end of July, so I wouldn't release something this late. And then I also want to say that it's currently 7 in the morning, so if I sound a little bit different than usual, it's because I basically just woke up and I decided to film already, and it's not a good hour to film. So we'll see how I get through this video. First off, I will show you my first finished object, which is the Lulu Slipover by Petite knit. I made this in the Scheepjes yarn. It's basically this, Scheepjes stone washed XL, so it's the Aran weight, and then the mineral dyed, so this one. And I will put the color that I used in the description because I cannot remember right now. Maybe it was something opal. But this is what it looks like, my finished object. It turned out really cute. I have no idea if I was on gauge or not. It turned out a little bit big. I will try to insert a picture where I'm wearing it. Just on my shoulders it's feeling a little bit broad and more wide than it should be. But I think altogether it's fine, If you don't swatch, you shouldn't really expect anything. Then the main adjustment that I made was that I started the increases for the armhole about 10 centimeters earlier. Just because in the pattern photos, this part, where this starts, the buttons, is super low. It seems to be around her waist, and I just didn't want a slipover that was that long. I don't really see myself wearing something that long, even though it does, show a little bit of what's underneath. I think this is better for me, so it's still a fair amount of room, but then not too much, so I really like it. 10 centimeters was a good amount for me. I was a little bit worried when I was doing the double knitting, but it turned out fine. Speaking of the double knitting, it was on 2.5mm needles with Aran weight yarn, so it was absolutely crazy to knit on and it hurt my hands so much. So I decided when I was about 1/3 of the way from my first placket that I just decided, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna do something different. So this is what I've done. I've done a folded hem. So that also makes the stripes in the opposite direction, but I actually really like the way that that looked. I didn't actually love the way that it's striped, alongside this, but then also different. Also because, for the armbands and the neck, I also have a different direction of stripe going. So actually I thought it was a really nice change, and it was of course much quicker than double knitting would have been. And then here are the little buttons that I showed you prior. And how they turned out. I think it's very cute. I love the little speckles that are in there. And yeah, you're right. I put my buttons too far off to the side. But then when the damage was done, I again didn't want to go back and change it. I think I was a little bit lazy with this project, maybe stressed out because of my secret project that I have going on. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. And it's really funny because I always think of myself as some kind of perfectionist. But then when I look at my knitting, I'm like the most sloppy, chaotic knitter there ever was. So I don't know, I think I'm really perfectionistic in other areas of my life, but then as it comes to knitting and my finished objects, I really don't care. It's a bad quality maybe, but also I have other things to do, I have a life. And sometimes it's just too much. I think you know what I mean. And then also in the pattern they have a long collar, but I did a short one like this. So it's super cute. I tried to keep the stripes, a little bit even, but in the end I also just let it go. The only thing where I was really cautious was doing the shoulders, because you're of course doing this part separately from the left and the right side. So I tried to find a point in the yarn where it looked a little bit similar, and I think it turned out alright. Because here you can see how they then go into pasto, and yeah, I tried a little bit. I need my coffee. My coffee is too warm right now to drink, but the burning sensation in my throat is kind of waking me up. Then my next finished object, I'm so happy to have off my needles, my goodness. I think this was on my needles for 5 weeks or something, and it was just waiting for I-cord edges, but I finally went and put them on my Sailor Swift top by Kutovakika. And I'm happy with it. I have not tried it on since I put on those I-cord edges, because after I did it, I could see that it was kind of pulling everything in, so maybe I didn't pick up enough stitches or I was knitting a little bit too tightly. I do know that the neckline is now a little bit tight. Luckily I have the head size of a child, so it fits me perfectly well. Sometimes that leaves me a little bit worried when I pass down clothing to other people and then I know their head maybe won't fit through it. My head, I think it's like 52 centimeters. So if you Google it, that is like child size. But anyways, yeah, the head is a little bit too small. Yeah, like I'm saying, I don't know about how these armholes are gonna be. I think they're okay. I hope so. I'm definitely not redoing it again. Here's me being lazy again. I thought this was a really good and clear pattern. I think Kutovakika, her patterns are always quite clear. And also I would have to say, for the previous one, the Petite knit, I actually don't particularly love Petite knit pattern writing. I think Sari Nordlund is my favorite pattern writer. I really love the way that she writes her patterns down. I think Petite knit is a little bit text heavy for me, and then I kind of tend to lose focus a little bit. Kutovakika is a little bit in between, but still not my favorite. So basically in the pattern there's a point where you have to join the beginning and the end of your I-cord, like for the neckline and the armholes, together with a Kitchener stitch. And there was no explanation in the pattern on how to do that for the I-cord, so I just did something. Like, I thought I was doing Kitchener stitch and it looks so bad. I probably should have just looked for a tutorial on YouTube, but like I said, I'm a sloppy knitter. So you can clearly see that that's where the point of the join was. It's not cute. Then in the armhole area, I decided to do it a little bit differently. And I just bound off the stitches and then joined them together with some type of mattress stitch. And that looks a lot better. Like, it's still not perfect, but it looks a lot better. So if you're also coming across this issue in the pattern, then maybe this will help you. I will put them side by side. So this is the neckline and then this is the armhole, and I think the armhole looks better. Then this yarn was Penduro Cotton 8/4, so it's a fingering weight cotton yarn. I will link the colors below that I used because of course I cannot remember. I have quite a bit left over, but I do think I shortened the top maybe just a little bit. And then for the bind off on the body, I, instead of doing a tubular or sewn bind off or whatever the pattern recommends, I decided to do knit one, purl one. And then we have those 2 stitches on the needles. I knit them together through the back loop and that creates a really nice stretchy bind off. So it looks like this, and yeah, there's a fair bit of stretch in there. It's nothing tight. And I'm not worried about it stretching too far. I think it will be okay. Then my next finished object is actually a crochet project. And then the one after that is crochet with sewing combined. So you may have already seen my latest video. It was the video where I showed you how to make a tailor twist dress. Well, I didn't really show you how to make it. It was more a little bit of the process of creating this massive crochet pattern completely out of the blue naturally and by impulse, like I always do everything. And it looks like this. It's so incredibly heavy. I think it weighs like a kilogram. I haven't weighed it, but it's incredibly heavy. I do really love how it turned out. You know, these colors really scream my name, but I haven't worn it yet because it's a dress and it has a lot of holes. So it needs to be a certain type of weather for me to be able to wear it, because I made it with wool. And then, like I always say, I'm always cold. So this is maybe not something that I immediately gravitate towards when it's a little bit warmer. Then I will wear something that is really summery, because I usually don't get to wear that kind of stuff because I run cold. But I do really like it, and I really like that I opted for this little neckline. I did a knitted I-cord neckline with a little keyhole in the back and a little bow, which I think is really cute. It really gives this pattern a little bit of a twist compared to the other patterns that are out there, I would say. And, you know, little scalloped edge details. I really like that. And this was actually the reason why I had to take a break from a video, because I was just so focused on this. It took absolutely everything out of me. I think in this particular week I did crochet about 24/7 besides my job in the fabric store. So it was a little bit crazy, and my hands, they were hurting a little bit because I just find crochet to be really hard on my hands, and it was a lot. And I just couldn't be bothered also to pick up the camera and vlog the process. It was just a huge undertaking to make a dress like this. But if you're not planning to do this in 4 days time or something, then I would definitely say that it's very doable and not so difficult. And I also spoke in that video about how this would be a really fun project for scrap yarns. to do all of the stripes that are in there in a different color. Even for the front and the back, I think that would be really cute. Then a key thing that I'm missing actually is that my pattern has short row shaping, or not short row shaping, but just, you know, shoulder shaping. So it has a sloped shoulder and then also a little bit of hip shaping. So it actually flares out a little bit like that. So it looks a lot nicer on people where their body is not like a rectangle, because a lot of these dresses are rectangles and I really don't like a dress that clings to my hips and that's just not nice. So yeah, I am happy with it. Again, I will put the yarns that I used down below, and it was a lot. So now I'm gonna put it away and not think about it again. And then here is my final finished object that I really didn't expect to have in this video, but I made it on impulse. Basically what happened, I had these granny squares for about a year and I wasn't doing anything with it. And I had already joined them together to make a pillow, but then I just put it away for another 2 months and then I finally grabbed it, sewed a backing for it that is a little bit loose. I probably should have done like a closure somewhere, like a button or a tie, but yeah, it's fine. Like nobody will see this, it's okay. And then between it, I sandwiched a little ribbon like eyelet lace. I think that's so cute and adorable. When I first made it, I put it on my sofa and I think it was like a good amount of days that I just looked at it and thought, do I think this is really ugly or do I like this? I had no idea. But now that I see it in my viewfinder also, I do think I like it. I just really had to get used to, I think, all of the colors and, you know, it's a little bit crazy. It's not necessarily, yeah, a common pillow. It's a little bit odd. And then what I also did was, with all of the joints that I did here in the white color, I actually sewed on top of that so that the granny squares, they don't really move around much. And of course also by the sides. I really like that I did that. Of course, this is a head pillow actually that we use this size for. So it does drag the granny squares a little bit down when I use it a lot, which I do because I like to sit on the sofa. But it's fine. And I also thought I can always make another pillow or a different pillow. And yes, it's gonna take me a very long time because it's not like super exciting for me, but I could do it. So yeah, a little bit random, but that's what I made. It's about 60 by 40 centimeters big. So yeah, it's quite a big pillow. It's nice to, you know, put behind your head like this. I kind of want to sleep right now. And then for the backing, I used a cotton satin fabric. It's nothing special, but it functions. And that's all I can say about that. Well, I could still show you a little bit of the knitting. I have 3 works in progress still. Last podcast to now, I haven't touched these works in progress. So there hasn't been any progress, but I thought maybe it would be fun to just quickly show you what I've been working on, so you get a little bit of a reminder. Also for the next podcast, that then when you see these projects again, they're not out of the blue. First off, we have the Fiona Flower Vest was the name. I'm still working on this back. So this is the back panel that I've made so far. It's actually upside down right now, but you can get the point. It's called the Fiona Flower Vest because it's going to have floral embroideries right in the center of these little lace diamond patterns. Very vintage inspired. I'm knitting this on, I think, 4.5mm needles with PC Garn Bio Balance Big, which looks like this. Really nice. So this is a project that I'm intending to have finished soon, so I can get to test knitting this one. Then I have another vest, which is an alpaca vest. That's currently the working name, but I don't really know what this is going to be called. I do think I had a name picked out for it, but I just don't remember. And I'm still here. I'm still on this little front area, just like I was last time. And the back, so they're kind of like at the same point. But this one is really cute with lots of like baubles on there. And then I also absolutely love the flowy and soft fabric that it has. This is just such a cute pattern for the upcoming winter. I'm also planning to design some cardigans for that time, but I really need to get my life in order and my affairs and work on these designs. And then the other one that I was super excited about, and I'm still really excited about it, but I've just been so busy with secret projects and other things that I have not been able to work on this, which is really sad. But this is the little bag that I was designing, with some crochet grannies in the center and like a lace eyelet fabric here. And this would be so cute. And also right now, you know, it's still summer, so I do really want to get this finished. Maybe I have to prioritize this work in progress now that I don't have anything else besides my secret work in progress. It also has been really hard because I have not really been able to share a lot. I've also just finished a secret sewing project, and then I worked on the tailor twist dress, so I feel like I've just been living under a rock or something. I don't know. It's just social media in the end, but I'm used to sharing a lot about my progress and my projects, so it's been a little bit weird. I feel like I vanished off the earth. Yeah, a little bit dramatic, but okay. So those are my 3 works in progress. Now let's go into the sewing finished objects that I have for you. So firstly, I have 2 finished skirts. These are both cloak bias skirts by Soft & Studio. I think this was a really good pattern. It was really simplistic. It's not too expensive. It's about 10 euros or something, and it was very clear. And I thought this would be a really nice and versatile pattern, like something that you can just make over and over again, which I really like to do with my sewing patterns. There have been a lot of mistakes whilst making this. I made 2 of them. This is the first one. This is in a crinkled viscose, and because they're on the bias, the crinkle was giving me like a really big headache. I did left it to hang like on the bias before hemming it, and it was like this much of a difference. I had to take a lot off the length. It was horrendous. So that was my first mistake, was that I did something wrong with the cutting of the fabric. Then my second mistake was the waistband. It's supposed to have a drawstring in the front, so you make these little buttonholes to put the drawstring through. And as you can see, mine are on the inside of my skirt, but I could not be bothered. And then I also did elastic. It was like 1.5 centimeters too narrow, so it kept flipping around itself. Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes, but I have fixed that, as you can tell. So now there's different elastic in here that fits a lot better, because it's really annoying when the elastic, you know, has a life on its own. If you look at the hem, it does really like flare out this, but I really don't mind. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I do think this is such a cute pattern for the summer. So that one is like almost to my ankles. And then this one is a midi length. So I made it a little bit shorter. And this is in deadstock viscose fabric that is so beautiful. And if you look at or like see it up close, it actually has a lot of shimmer in it and it's really pretty. I feel like this is a little bit more of a fancy skirt, also with the length. And that's nice because I don't really have a lot of fancy things. And here I made the same mistake, of course. You know, nice buttonholes on the inside, very functional. And again, I also had to take out the elastic afterwards and put in some new elastic, very fun. Oh! But I do love this one. I will show you the gold shimmer if I can show you. Here you can clearly tell. It's really pretty. I feel like this is going to be really easy to pair with other clothing because it just has so many colors in there. So I would really recommend this pattern. It's very straightforward. And just the fabric that you can choose can really make this pattern look very different. I know most people, for example, on Instagram that made this used a linen fabric, which gives it a little bit more of a, like it's a little bit less fancy and more casual, which I think I also want to make a version like that. But for now, I really enjoy these and I do really like a flowy fabric, you know? Here you can kind of see the difference in length that I did. So I have 2 of those, and then I also made 2 little tops, and this was, I think, was this my first time doing a sewing tester thing? Maybe it was. But I did the Catalina top for Cayden Naughton, I think is how you pronounce her name. I will link her Instagram down below. And it was kind of on a whim that I saw her tester call, but I don't know, I just went for it. Even though this is really something out of my comfort zone, I don't really wear things that are very exposing, or not that it's exposing, it's just more naked, if that makes sense. Like I tend to wear things that are very covered, but I was drawn to it, so I went for it. But it's this little top that you tie here in the front. So you tie it here at the top of your chest and then underneath your chest. So everything is open, then it's also a very low and scoop neck. So it's really something that you can't wear a bra with unless you do a little privacy placket, which the pattern does have instructions for, it's just not what I did. Then I made the completely lined version, so it's actually reversible, which is really awesome. So I can also wear it like this. And both of these fabrics are a really nice lightweight cotton fabric. And I really like that this one has some purple flowers to match with the purple ribbons. And then of course this one has pink, but I think it still works. And yeah, it has purple there as well. I don't know, it's just so cute. This was the first version that I made of this pattern, so it was my wearable toile. And she is 5'9" and I'm 5'6", so I had to take quite a bit off the length of this strap, because right now it is scooping a little bit too low and yeah, just not fitting the way that it should. So I made another version that also needs some adjustments, because I was again just being stupid. I don't know why. But this is the other version that I made, and this is a little denim version because I thought that would be fun. So you can also wear it as a vest. Then again, I made the lined version, so this is it when it's the other way around. This is a vintage quilting cotton, and then I love the little ties that I did because it's like gingham with floral on there. So it matches both sides and I think that's very cute. But then for the mistakes, like I said, I had to shorten the strap. So that is what I did. I shortened it by, I think, 2 centimeters on the front and the back. And then I made the stupid mistake of not lowering the armhole. So it's really tight in my armhole area. and almost to the point that I feel like I cannot wear it because it makes me feel like I can't breathe, especially in the sturdy denim fabric. It's not the best, so that's a little bit of a bummer. For both of these also I made the smallest size. Also with the Chloe bias skirt I also made the smallest size. I'm really like, I'm not that small, but I feel like sewing patterns are really on the large side right now. I don't know what's up with that. Like for knitting patterns I can often still make the smallest size or the one above. But for sewing patterns I tend to have to follow the smallest size. And I was a little bit worried about that it was going to be too small, but actually fine. So if you have a smaller bust than me, so smaller than 80 centimeters, I'm not sure if this pattern will work for you, but it is really nice. And I do think it's inclusive on the other end of the spectrum, but I will put that on the screen if it's not. So yeah, I'm happy with this. I do think I have to make eventually a third version, even though this is outside of my comfort zone in general, so I'm not sure, you know, how much wear I will get out of it. But it's just so cute and it's so quick to make, and you don't need like any fabric. You can just make this with leftovers, which is another pro of this. And also that it's reversible. It's really fun. Then my last finished object for sewing is something that is not for me, which is very unusual because I'm a little bit of a selfish knitter and sewist. But I actually made something for my boyfriend, which is this like linen shirt. Do keep in mind that he has worn this already once, so it's a little bit wrinkled. And this is a pattern from Etsy, so I will link that below. I have no idea what it's called and I'm not sure if I would recommend it, but I will talk about that more. So this is the shirt that I made. It's a linen viscose blend, the same one that I always love using, and I will link down below. And he also loves this fabric. He just wanted a linen shirt, but then a lot of the linen shirts are a little bit stiff if the linen quality is not very high, which it usually isn't if you want, you know, a cheaper shirt. And we both don't really spend a lot of money on clothes. I actually have this goal of mine that I only want to make my own clothing. I don't want to buy anything, especially fast fashion. I just don't want to support it anymore. So I also made a shirt for my boyfriend. So he also does not have to support fast fashion anymore. He is a little bit tall. He's I think 5'11" or 178 centimeters. And then he also likes his shirt long, but then he's also quite skinny. And usually those things don't really combine very well. So often when we go shopping, he just ends up trying on so many different things and they don't really work for him, which is just really annoying and frustrating. So I think sewing, you know, is our best bet. And it actually fits quite well. I made the smallest size of that pattern, which was the 2XS. And it actually fits quite well without any modifications. The only adjustment that I made was that he requested this button placket in the front to be more narrow. So that is what I did. Then it also has a little box pleat in the back, which the pattern includes. And also, you know, this little, I don't even know what you call this, but when it has that little slit on the sleeve. So, you know, a lot of work actually. But I made this in 3 hours and I had already printed and pasted together the pattern, which is where the struggle came in. This pattern combined A4 and letter size, US letter size, together, and it was horrendous. And it's really interesting because I had never come across a pattern that did that before. And the Catalina top that I just showed you also combines A4 and US letter size, and it works perfectly. But for this one, for some reason, the printing was just horrendous, and it's very interesting that they said to select a layer on Adobe, but then Adobe like literally refused to print this in the actual no scaling size. You know, when you have to print a pattern to no scale or like actual scale because it's a sewing pattern, Adobe didn't want to do it. And I think that's very weird, because if you're saying that you should print a pattern in Adobe and then Adobe doesn't want to print it, and I'm just using A4 paper like a lot of people probably are, that's something that's very strange. So I don't remember exactly what I did, but I had to change something in my setting. And then when I had to piece it all together, it was the most horrendous and horrible experience of a sewing pattern or sewing project that I've ever had. I do think I made some pictures, so I think I will put them on the screen and they will do justice to what I'm saying. But it was just a guessing game. I had no idea if my pattern pieces were the right size or if they were the wrong size. So actually, to then still be able to make a blouse that has all the right proportions, like a sleeve. I was really worried that my sleeve was going to be too small to fit inside the sleeve cap or the other way around. You know, that things weren't lining up. And thankfully everything did, and we have a nice shirt at the end of it. But that experience, it was very bad. And the worst thing is, it's like a 15 euro pattern. That to me is just really not worth it. The instructions were good. I had no issue with that. But the printing thing, that's just horrendous. I am planning to make more shirts of it, especially now that I know the pattern works. And also I do have to make one adjustment, like the neckline is absolutely tiny, which doesn't make any sense for a 2XS pattern. Like look at that neckline. It's absolutely teeny tiny. Like this could not fit anyone, this neck. So in that sense the proportions are a little bit off, but for my next version I'm just planning to make this a little bit bigger and then adjust the color accordingly. Hopefully that will go well. And yeah, he does really like it, and yeah, that's all that matters. And so I'm going to make more versions for this for him. So those were all of my knitting, sewing and crochet projects. I really hope that you enjoyed that. I am going to be talking about some future projects that I have planned. Then I will show you the books that I've been reading, and then I will have a knit and chat. So if you're not interested in any of that, I totally understand. And then I will see you in my next video hopefully, or you have to subscribe to my channel so you know that I'm posting something maybe. Just giving you an idea. But actually, one of the projects that I'm most eager to make right now, besides, you know, finishing the 3 works in progress that I already have on my needles for an extremely long time, is a crochet book sleeve. I really want to make that, or something for my Kindle. Both would be very cute. So I got more of that scheepje stone washed yarn in these pretty summery colors. I just love this. I can't wait to get started on this. But I do feel I'm finally being a little bit more responsible and finishing the 3 works in progress that I have at the moment, and not just cast on a bunch of things. So now for the books that I've been reading, which is super exciting. I don't know if anyone's interested in this, but I'm talking about it anyways because this is just a cozy podcast with crafty hobbies, and I think reading is also like a crafty, cozy hobby. The first book that I read since I last saw you was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I absolutely love this book. I got this book in Utrecht, which was really fun. I was there with family and I really loved visiting the city. So I'm just gonna grab my review that I did on Goodreads because I have absolutely horrendous memory. So I need to search what I wrote about it because I don't know. So I rated this book a 4.5 star. And I wrote, "What a wonderful book that combines romance with self-discovery and dealing with grief. I didn't expect the latter, but I could relate to Clementine and the complexity that is grief and loving. The other characters were also sweet and supportive. I wished I had friends like that." Being very honest here. Overall, a book that was lighthearted, easy to read, and not surface level. It kept me coming back for more and wondering what was happening. And that's very true. I do remember that when I was reading this, I was thinking about this book almost constantly and just thinking, are they gonna end up together? Like, what is happening here? It's basically a book about a magical apartment, which is why it's called The 7-Year Slip, because it kind of does something with the time in a 7-year span, which is all I can say. And that's just really interesting, and I love the romance in this book. I have not read anything else by Ashley Poston yet, but I have loved this so far, and I would really recommend this book. And then I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, which I absolutely loved. I love this more than A 7-Year Slip. This one I rated a 4.75 star. Maybe it's even a 5-star read, but it's really difficult for me to rate books right now because it has not been very long since I started my reading journey. But this one has been really good. So I will again share what I wrote. I really love this book. I'm dying to read the second one since I'm left with so many questions, which would be really annoying if this wasn't a trilogy. Some people have mentioned the lack of chemistry, which I really disagree with. I think you have to keep in mind that the main character is just a 17-year-old girl and figuring things out after the loss of her parents. This is one of the first fantasy books that I've read, and I think the writer did a great job at giving descriptions of the world aesthetics that really got me imagining the world. Which I still really agree with that review. I do want to add that the romance in this book, I don't know, they are just so damn cute together. And I really ship them, and I really want to know what happens in the next book. I just love this. It was so adorable, and it's very enemies to lovers, and I think I really enjoy that trope. And it doesn't have any spice in there, so it's definitely young adult if you're looking for something like that. And then this one I think has a little bit of spice, if people say it like that. Or it's like an open door romance. And then I also treated myself to a Kindle on Amazon Prime Day. So it was 20% off. I know a lot of people on TikTok were mad about that, but I take what I can get and I saved a little bit of money. And so far I've really been enjoying it. I really didn't expect to enjoy it so much, like a lot of people also say about Kindles or Kobos or e-readers in general. I really like having, you know, the paper version in my hand. But that's also because the book that I read, like as the first book of this year, I read on my iPad. So that's a complete different experience experience from an e-reader. Don't believe anything when anybody tells you differently. It's different. This doesn't have any distractions. The light is very soft on your eyes. It's super duper lightweight. Scrolling through the pages is just so easy. And I just love it. So I don't have Kindle Unlimited because it's not available in the Netherlands. I know a lot of people get it through Germany, but I don't want to do that because that just seems a little bit odd. And so I'm just buying books that are €1 or €2, something like that. And then if books are more like €5 plus, then I will still get the paperback. Because then I just feel like it's not worth it. Because then you would just have something digital. And of course, that's still worth money, but a physical book I can either sell, I can donate it, I can gift it to someone, I can loan it, and with a physical or like an e-reader book, you can't. So it's not worth that much to me, but I'm currently reading Abby Jimenez, the Just for Summer, and I'm really loving that book so far. It is open door romance. Then it also talks a lot about dysfunctional family, which I can kind of relate to, and having guardians in your life, like people that take care of you, but then it not really feeling like your own family. It will always feel differently no matter how hard you try. I think a lot of people that are in a similar situation can relate to that. I'm currently on 80% of that book, so I'm excited to finish that really soon. And then after that, I think I'm going to read A Ballad of Never After, which is the second book of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And for people asking me what type of Kindle I got the regular Kindle, the 2022 generation. So not the Paperwhite or anything fancy. Then I was thinking for the knit and chat that I don't have anything to knit on right now, which is kind of stupid. I just really feel like I haven't been able to have like a knit and chat in quite some time. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was a little bit of a health update. I'm doing good, so don't be alarmed. But I had some like weird health things lately. So first I found a lump in my breast, which was really scary because I immediately went to the worst thing. I have a lot of anxiety about my health, so I was just absolutely going a little bit crazy. And my boyfriend has the same, so we are a great duo. In the end, it ended up being a cyst, which is really nice, but it was just a super stressful experience. I really didn't feel good, and it made me feel like really bad for people that they actually go through this, like just being stressed about your health and not knowing what's coming and not knowing if your life is drastically changing. Like for me, it was just a cyst, but I know a lot of people aren't so lucky, and it really opened my eyes, you know. I'm of course aware of it, but just being able to kind of experience just a tiny bit of that stress, it made me really feel for people. I would love to organize something one day, like a knit along or maybe a special pattern release that donates a part of the proceeds to a charity, like something with cancer, I'm not sure, breast cancer or something else. And then I also had some other health issues because then before that I actually fainted, like out of the blue. I don't know what it was. I did go to the doctor to check out the lump and then said, hey, I also fainted, which was kind of weird. And I have fainted before, so luckily I felt it coming. And then I asked my boyfriend to come out of bed because I felt like this is really not going well. And then he kind of had to catch me, which was really scary. And he looked at me a little bit traumatized afterwards. But at least now he knows that that can also happen and what that's like. So first I fainted, and then I found a lump in my chest, and then I had a cold and just a general like sickness. And then afterwards, my chronic pain that I've kind of been having on and off for the past few years also came up. So I actually get sciatic nerve pain in my back. So it basically starts from my lower back and then runs all the way down from the back of my leg to like my calves. And it can get really painful, like almost a 9 out of 10 crying pain. You're unable to sleep, unable to sit, unable to do anything. It's really horrible. So when I get it, I'm also really out of it. And I finally went to the doctor for it again because it doesn't happen very often, but it happens enough for it to be considered chronic. So the doctor was thinking sciatica or something else that I don't know what it is in English, but I'll put it on the screen, which I definitely don't have the latter. But then after some googling, I also found sciatica and endometriosis. So that really had me thinking that maybe I have endometriosis because I've also been struggling just with painful periods like my entire life, and my sister has endometriosis actually. I've been to the ER multiple times in my life because I had a lot of pain in my stomach and they thought I had a appendicitis. And it's very frustrating also because you don't really feel taken seriously and you really have to advocate for your health, because then I pointed out to the doctor, because he was very confused with my symptoms about my leg pain. So I pointed out to him on the phone like, hey, maybe I should be checked out for endometriosis again, because I found this online and my sister has this and I have also a lot of pain around my menstruation, but thankfully not anymore because I'm on the pill and have been for many years now. So that really reduces all of those symptoms. But he was basically saying that endometriosis was too hard to diagnose and it would just be easier to get physical therapy and then see from there. And it really showed me that if you want to get diagnosed with this, you really have to push so hard. You have to make, I don't know, like a book this size with all of the evidence that you have, diaries that you filled out with the proof that you have this and that you want to be diagnosed. And it's just absolutely crazy. And of course, I don't know if I have endometriosis. Like maybe I just have something in my back, like please just let it be something like that. I'm not saying that this is my reality, but still, my sister has this and my sister went through this and so many other women went through this, and it's just absolutely horrible the lack of information that there is about this chronic illness. Yeah, especially just men. Like this was also a man just saying like, hey, it's too hard to diagnose, just try the physical therapy. Like not really caring. And it's very annoying and very sad that we as women, we have to advocate for our health this much and we have to really push them. And yeah, it makes me a little bit angry and upset. It's just very annoying. So I also had all of that stuff going on this month. So that was the updates that were not really fun, but then I also wanted to talk about why I started reading to kind of end this video. And it's just quite simple actually. I just knit a lot and then I sew a lot, and then the knitting, of course, I make patterns. So sometimes I just sit around for 8 hours trying to knit something so it can get finished. And I really want to give my hands a break, but then also my mind a break from doing something that is work related. So that's why I started reading, and it has been really great. I would really recommend, even if you don't have a lot of knitting time, just give your hands a break or your mind a break. It's just such a nice thing to do and to escape into a different world. I also feel like a lot of times, and probably you can relate to that, if we want to find something else that is not doing something with our hands, it's oftentimes just watching Netflix or a show or TV or YouTube, which there's nothing wrong with. I still do that, but that can be just a lot of screen time, and reading is a really nice break. And of course, if you use an e-reader, the light is not bad for your eyes at all, and I would really recommend. So that's why I started reading, and also why I started sharing it here on the podcast. I do hope that you enjoyed me talking a little bit about that. I think those were all of the little updates that I wanted to give you, just where I've been and how I've been doing. Other than those, little health things, I've been doing pretty good, and yeah, mainly just being really busy with projects that I cannot talk about until 2025, which is really difficult. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. I would love to see you in my next video. Hopefully I will finally have made some progress on my whips from my whip graveyard. And for now, I wish you all a very happy day, happy knitting, and I will see you then. Bye bye!